We are doing Extra Life again this year, where you can mash buttons, roll dice, play games, and help kids along the way. I hope you'll be a part of that with us. Stick around after the video for more information. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.
The song goes like this.
Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Trial and Error, where I play the first part of a game or a game demo, usually do that pretty badly, and give you my thoughts along the way. This time, I'm taking a look at Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age. Now, I am a pretty, I don't want to say a pretty big fan of Dragon Quest. I'm definitely a fan. I played the original Dragon Warrior when it released on the NES. I didn't play any of the games after it that released on the NES, but I eventually came back to the series on the PlayStation 2 with Dragon Quest VIII and just loved it. And even after having only played one Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior as it was called in the US game before that, I was still feeling all the pulls at my nostalgic heartstrings that were going on in Dragon Quest VIII, and it was an enjoyable enough experience that I decided to go back and play a lot of the ones I'd missed that had been remade or remastered for Nintendo handhelds. And I've really enjoyed the core gameplay of the series. I'm not someone that really cares about story because in video games, because it usually has no ability to hook me or interest me. I prefer other media if I'm going to enjoy a story. I really like systems and gameplay, and the whole Dragon Quest loop of going and fighting enemies, having some light tactics so that it's not like a brain-burning, Divinity Original Sin kind of experience, which at the end of my workday, I don't have enough brain power left to really get into something like that. But at the same time, it's not mindless. There are decisions to be made in combat, and if you make the wrong decisions, if you're not at least somewhat thoughtful, then you could easily get wiped out. And so I appreciate that kind of light tactical element. I love that you can constantly be growing, getting coins so that you can go back and buy that great new armor set or weapon set that you've been saving up for. You can occasionally find some cool items out there. It's all about exploring and getting stronger, and I usually prefer a much darker aesthetic in video games. Inexplicably, apart from nostalgia, I suppose, I do find a soft spot in my heart for the Dragon Quest series. I also played Dragon Quest Builders and really enjoyed that quite a lot. I do have some reservations, though, about JRPGs, and given that Dragon Quest has been so traditional throughout its history and so unchanging in most respects, I'm afraid that some of those problems I have with JRPGs will still be present, namely a lack of any kind of quest log, and the requirement, the expectation that I be jotting down notes by hand or on a computer document or something to keep track of, clues and hints of side quests and where I should be going and stuff. I really just want the game to put a quest marker on my map and a waypoint so that I can, know where I'm going and stuff. I'm really not interested in keeping a bunch of notes or freaking buying a strategy guide or looking one up on GameFAQs or whatever. That time in my life is over. Maybe I could be persuaded to come back into some note-taking. I recently got into Monster Hunter World and No Man's Sky, and I've started doing a little bit of note-taking with that, so maybe that's primed me a bit to go back to that world a little bit if I have to, but I'd really rather not. Another big issue for me is going to be save points. I've already heard that the save points can be sparse in this game, and I've got a life to live, and sometimes I've got other games to play, so even with the option on the PlayStation 4 to put it in rest mode, that will help me, quit for the night and move on to something else, or if my family needs me, put the game down and, come back to it a little bit later in the day. But it's not going to help me if I want to play another game for a little while, if I don't have a save point readily available. So that's... We'll see how sparse they are. I've heard that's going to be a little bit frustrating for those that have problems with that. I'm also wondering how I'm going to feel about the musical score. With Dragon Quest VIII coming over to the US on PS2, they gave it a full live orchestral score upgrade that the Japanese version didn't have. And I think they've done that sometimes, at least with the opening menu version of the theme on handhelds, but once you get into the game, it's all MIDI. It's all 90s MIDI sounding, and that's what Dragon Quest Builders sounded like, and I kind of got used to it, I guess, but man, it takes something out of these potentially epic moments to remove the orchestra and just have this 90s MIDI sounding music playing, so I don't know how I'll feel about that. But I do like Dragon Quest's brand of turn-based RPG gameplay. And maybe I'll talk about that once I get into the game, which I can't wait to do any longer. Here we go! Oh, this music. It sounds terrible. It's sucking all the drama out of this moment. It trivializes it. I mean, with the visuals, they're going for this dark, serious aesthetic, and the music just sounds ridiculous. I'd rather they would keep moments like that kind of light and only faux serious, because then it would at least fit the music. Okay, so they at least have a current objective log of some kind. That's nice. So I always like to track with any themes, spiritual themes, theology, that kind of thing going on in games. I'm used to this series having goddess theology, like goddess monotheism, which I talked about a little bit in my trial and error review of Dragon Quest Builders. But here, these folks looks like they're worshipping the spirit of the land. So I'm supposed to go up as part of my coming-of-age ceremony and give praise to the spirit of the land. So that's an interesting shift. I don't know if it's just a local religion of these folks or a change to the world. The path ahead will at times be a steep one, but fear not, my children, for the spirit of the land shall watch over you. May your climb teach you how truly blessed we are to live among such beautiful surroundings. We will pray for your safe return. So a bit of kind of like a nature worship kind of thing, which makes sense, spirit of the land and stuff. What doesn't make sense there is that the world, the land, nature, these are all contingent things, just like we are. They are dependent on something else for their existence, and so really we ought to seek out what is the non-contingent thing that all contingent things owe their existence to, and then we should focus our attention, our praise, our obsession, whatever, on that. Whenever you find somewhere with lovely scenery like this, you should take the time to stop and bask in the wonder of nature. Again, more nature worship type focus. It always does me the power of good. I don't know if that's a translation problem, or I don't know what that means. I mean, as far as the scenery goes, it looks, I think, better than any Dragon Quest game has looked before, but they've never been known for their real detail. They're going for much more of a cel-shaded, cartoony kind of vibe.
Humble folk of cobblestone, great land spirits, hearth and home. That's how it goes, isn't it?
I mean, the voice acting's okay so far. I haven't heard much of it, but I'm probably gonna, even if it's not irritating to me, as I suspect it will get to be at some point, I'll probably turn it off just so I can cycle through the dialogue faster. I'd rather just read. Yeah, combat, baby!
Ah! Monsters!
Oh, they don't look so bad. Look at these smiling little cuties. Why do we gotta fight them? This is where, if you're not a fan of either cutesy anime, which I hate, or a fan of Dragon Quest, which I am, I don't know how this is gonna strike you. And they're still using these classic action selection sounds bloop, bloop, for when the enemies attack, and which are throwbacks for me, but I just wonder what new players will think of that stuff and this music. Oh, it's auto-saving as I enter the cave. That's interesting. Okay, so no random battles. You can actually avoid or sneak up on monsters. So you do have an option to have, like, free roam movement in the battle environment, but it looks like it's just purely aesthetic, doesn't have any effect on combat.
Tough little blighters, aren't they? Tough little blighters, aren't they?
Ugh, I'm gonna get tired of that phrase. Let's see, do I need to be attacking the one that's paralyzed? Maybe I should try that.
Tough little blighters, aren't they? I'm so proud of you.
Oh, man. I might have to turn off voices earlier than I thought I was gonna.
What in the world is going on? But never mind that now.
It works better for me to not have voice acting when they're being so dramatic with their body movements. I mean, I accepted that back in the NES and SNES era because I figured these overly exaggerated movements were required in order to communicate emotions in these little teeny sprites. But when graphics evolved to the point where you could be subtle, but they chose not to and still use these big body movements, it became over dramatic and cheesy to me. And so dialing it back by turning off the voices does help me a little bit. So I just autosaved again. I'm gonna try something. First I'm gonna turn off voices. Maybe I'll turn music down a little bit too. Oh wait, quest catalog. Oh, awesome! So it looks like they have a full-blown quest log. I love it! Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm so glad they did that. But now I want to test this autosave feature, because it looks like through autosaving, like, could I turn it off now after autosaving and be right here after this battle? Let's find out. Look at that. I can continue from my autosave. Oh, cool. And they got something to catch you up on the story, too. That's a great feature, especially if you put the game away for a little while, to be caught up on the story, to have a quest log to remind you what you have unfinished or what you were about to do next, and to have an autosave feature that so far it looks like it's autosaved maybe every time or almost every other time I've loaded into a new area in this dungeon. That's great. That's great. Oh, this clearing smells like a boss fight.
Here we are last.
Wait a minute, I turned voices off. Why is she talking? Why is she talking?
Better say the
Oh my gosh, does turning off voices only turn them off outside of cutscenes? Like, cutscenes are when I most want them to be turned off. Unless...
mark on your hand.
Did I change those settings after it autosaved? Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Alright, let's turn the voices down again. Yeah, and it's nice that you can turn the music down too. I might eventually turn it off all the way, but right now it's nice to just fade it into the background, let some of the incidental sound effects take over. So here's some advice from one bloke to another. Whatever you're doing, enjoy it. No one knows how long they've got, so make the most of it. So that's kind of a very nearsighted naturalist kind of view, as opposed to having an eternal perspective. Nothing wrong with enjoying things, of course, but to make that like your mantra, whatever you're doing, make sure you're enjoying it. Make sure that you're experiencing pleasure, as opposed to having a more long-sighted view for something that is of greater worth that may require discomfort and a lack of enjoyment right now. Hello there, young pater. Do you know what's good? Prayer, that's what. You should go down to the church every chance you get, because that's the only place you can pray. Every time I pray, I feel all my troubles slipping away. It'll make a new man of you. Take my word for it. Okay. Well, let's check out the church then. So are these guys like time travelers? It looks like maybe they worship the flux capacitor. Greetings, my child. It is good to see the younger members of my flock take the time to pray. Now shall we begin? So, my child, flock, they're still borrowing, and with the organ playing, stained glass, they're still borrowing from the aesthetics of Christian church history, but imprinting their own theology on top of it. That little conversation and exchange there, just to save, is still a little bit cumbersome. It really hasn't upgraded any from when I played Dragon Quest VIII. Whereas other games, like, say, even Final Fantasy, another JRPG, you get to a save point, like a save crystal or something like that, you open up a menu, save, and then you're done. There's not like a dialogue that you gotta read just for the process of saving. So, still a little cumbersome. I'm not going to really complain, though. The auto-saving thing is great. You gotta go around breaking stuff. Because unlike in Skyrim, you can just trash people's houses and their shops and whatever. They don't care. They just let you take whatever, and there's usually some stuff you can find. So if I'm your hero, you won't mind if I wreck your house a little bit. And take your gold! Ha-ha! Now let's see here. I mean, the one thing that I can kind of get tired of in JRPGs is the rhythm of arrive at a new town, talk to every freaking person in the town until you figure out who you need to talk to trigger the next part of the main quest. Then follow that main quest, usually to a nearby dungeon, clear the dungeon, come back to the town, maybe get sent off then to a new town, and then repeat the whole thing over again. And that part of the cycle where you're getting to a new town and just talking to everybody and exploring the whole town, that's not my favorite part of these kinds of games. That can get a little bit tiresome. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about that in this game long term, because it looks like that's still probably the formula. I mean, I do have the current objective of head to your home in Cobblestone, but with games like this, I mean, you do want to talk to everybody just to make sure you're not missing a quest of some kind. Because unlike Skyrim, which auto-scales enemy difficulty to wherever you're at, a game like this you're going to have to make sure you're leveled appropriately for some challenges later on. So you really want to find every quest that you can, every little goodie and trinket that you can discover. Okay, so where's my home again? I can't remember. Oh yeah, some dude said, like, follow the cobblestone path. See, I know where I'm supposed to go, but there are still some details I need to remember in order to get to the place where I need to be. Oh yeah, this is much better without voices. The reincarnation of the luminary! So nature worship, reincarnation, definitely, you know, a lot of Eastern influences in the philosophy going on here, despite the trappings of medieval Christianity. Oh, cool. Okay, so he's actually marked with a quest. Okay, so purple dots on the minimap are quests. Sweet. Okay, so you don't get the option to put a marker on your map or anything. You can just look up the information for it. So again, it tells me where to go, the roof of my shed, but it doesn't put a marker on my shed, so I at least have to be able to remember where my shed is. Now I've got his feather. Okay, so I picked up the feather, but it doesn't update the quest to remind me that I have the feather and now I just need to return it to him. It still just gives me that same blanket description of the quest as a whole. Still, that is so much better than nothing. Oh, you know what it doesn't do, though? It doesn't tell me where this quest is centered at. It says you've been asked by a local gent to retrieve a flurry feather belonging to his son. A local gent? Well, if I forgot about this quest, moved on and got busy doing a bunch of other things, explored 3 more towns, would I remember which local gent? Well, maybe. But hey, we live in the age of the internet. The quest has a name, the people's friend. If I really needed to, I could find online what I need to do to finish it up if I forgot contextually, you know, where this quest was. Oh, so bad guys do respawn. Well, that's good. So combat here at the beginning is really basic, with just one guy in my party. I'm basically just spamming attack. So I'm hoping that before too long, we'll get some people added to my party, we'll get some enemies with maybe a little bit more complexity. Right now I feel a little bit too powerful. I'm killing these guys in a couple hits, and I haven't used a healing item once yet. Oh, that felt way too easy. Okay, so you have these campsites that have statues that look like a goddess statue. And she got a flux capacitor on her forehead, so is she also the spirit of the land, maybe? Oh yeah, I think I remember something about that in Dragon Quest Builders, that she's also the spirit of the land. And again, we've got this, you know, you can pray to it, to this statue, this physical thing that is contingent, dependent on other things for its own existence. I think it's worth asking if what we are worshipping, what we are trusting in, what we are praying to is, as Dr. William Lane Craig describes it, a maximally great being. Or if there's some other being that we can conceive of that would be greater than it? And if so, then we ought to search and see if there's good reason to believe that that being exists. I think it's a good exercise for us as Christians, too. We can put limitations on God that we really shouldn't. Let's see if traveling at night is going to be any harder. Harder enemies are supposed to come out at night, I think, in Dragon Quest VIII. So maybe that'll provide a little bit more of a challenge here. Well, it's nice that they don't force you to use the skill points you've earned right away, because right now I feel like I just don't need them. Yeah, still way too easy. My guess is there will be some boss fights that really ramp up the difficulty, but I prefer a little bit more of a consistent upward climb in difficulty rather than sudden spikes when you hit bosses. Oof, he hits hard. Okay. Nice. Alright, that was satisfying. The sweet spot is when, you know, I have to make decisions about, should I use this finite healing item yet? Or could I make it 1 or 2 more rounds on my current number of hit points? Simple choices like that really are what I enjoy about the basic groove of this game. Look at that, got a nice autosave there. I don't even have to hunt through this brand new huge city to figure out where the church is. I can just stop and have lunch right now. This starts to get into some of the meat of what I like in a Dragon Quest game. Is you get to a new town and they have a new set of weapons and armor that are a little bit better than what you've had up to this point, and so you have to figure out, well, what am I going to spend my money on, and maybe should I go out and do some grinding and stay in this area for a while and grind cash until I can get the absolute best of everything before moving on. That's usually what I like to try and do. So it's not just the light tactics in combat, but there's the economy of item use, economy of gold pieces, and how I'm going to spend them. Those are the kind of choices that I find interesting. And in a number of other JRPGs, you just get flooded with so much cash that shops aren't that really interesting anymore. I guess the flux capacitor is like more of a Y shape. This would be an upside down flux capacitor. So what do you suppose the symbol is there that's relevant to the faith, the goddess worship here? It could be, you know, again, a somewhat meaningless, random kind of design that just subtly evokes, you know, the cross, again, taking from the aesthetics of Christianity. Oh my gosh! That looks like a dragon. Oh man. Listen to that oompa music. This is the scary, intense dragon music. We're listening to it right now. I might end up turning the music off. Alright, so it's over 4 hours into the game now at the pace I've been playing it, and I think this is now the first time I've been kind of set free on the overworld map, at least to go to the first big dungeon, I assume. I just spent about an hour, I think, in the first big town, running around and getting items in people's homes, just scouring the place for every item that I could find. And that's because I've played Dragon Quest games before, and I know that there's stuff like that hidden all over the place. But I'm thinking now maybe I shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna find out now if I'm over-leveled or have too much equipment that I shouldn't have been able to afford at this point. I don't know, but I hate the town stuff. I hate just running back and forth, having little text conversations. There really hasn't been much of any real combat in that whole, like, hour-long town sequence. It was just kind of like running back and forth between townspeople, having conversations to trigger certain things, to trigger certain other things, back and forth, until finally I'm set free. But the meat and potatoes of a Dragon Quest game for me is going through a dungeon, and sometimes grinding in the overworld map. And I think that's what I'm about to head into now, so... And this will be telling, I think. Easily defeated. Oof, okay. Oh my gosh. Oh. Nice. Okay, yeah, that was a cool little boss fight. I felt like I had to make some serious decisions about when I was going to heal. How often should I heal? When should I use an item as opposed to a healing spell because I have limited magic points? That's the kind of experience I want to have when I'm playing this game. And I still haven't used a bunch of my skill upgrade points yet. I ran through that entire kind of dungeon area to avoid gaining any experience points. So maybe now I'm getting close to the right sweet spot of difficulty balance for me. Oh, cool. Now this side quest did get updated. So maybe some of the side quests do get updated notes. So that's cool. Nice. Yeah, this quest log system is like a major upgrade. Very, very happy with that. And the autosave system, that's been really good too so far. Gosh, what did he just say there? Though things may look bleak, one may still find comfort in the age-old rituals. I suppose, but that strikes me as being a band-aid on a cannonball wound. I mean, we really ought to be finding comfort and hope in what's true. But, I mean, I have to admit, that's a fair imitation of what happens in a lot of Christian circles. There can be a shallow form of Christianity that is just about the rituals and the traditions and the almost kind of a nostalgia kind of comfort out of those things. But we have so much reason to hope that it doesn't make sense to only go as far as looking for comfort in traditions and rituals and nostalgia. We must go out into the world and seek the truth. Remember now, don't waste your time bearing grudges and live life with love in your heart. All right. Well, there's some good truth there. That's the way to live. I wish I was better at it. Okay, so I've spent about 30 minutes playing via remote play on my PlayStation Vita, and it's a pretty decent experience. I think it really helps that it's turn-based combat, and so any lag that might be involved would not really prevent me from making my way through the game and playing it pretty much the way I would in just a regular PS4. The text is a little small, and when you're in open areas, it's a little more difficult to maybe see shiny objects that would normally catch your eye to go and investigate. But you know, the text isn't like so small that it like hurts my eyes to be looking at it, and I think that as long as you're not doing in a section that involves a lot of reading, I'm probably going to be fine. This works really well for me. The combat in remote play mode works really pretty well. And that's cool news for me because I like to have an option to just be bumming around on the couch while my wife is watching a show that she likes, just so we can spend just a little extra time in the same room together to kind of supplement our more intentional time that we spend together during the week. Oh boy. Ouch. Oh crap, that hurts. Nice, okay. I feel like right now, in what is kind of the first proper underground dungeon I've been in, I feel like I'm finally at the difficulty groove that I want to be at, maybe even a little bit on the high side of difficulty for me, so I'm going to start spending some of my skill points that I've been saving up to this point. If I could go back in time, I would tell myself to only fight each enemy type that you come across in this game once, and try to avoid fighting that enemy type as you see it on the overworld map or enemy areas. Try to avoid it after you've already fought it once, until you come across an enemy that starts to give you a little bit of a challenge, and then maybe you can start fighting enemies as you come upon them. I think for me, and I suspect a lot of people who are comfortable with JRPGs, the opening hours of this game are going to be very, like, overly easy and kind of slow as you're just spending time running around towns and talking to people and stuff like that. I mean, right now I'm over 5 hours into the game, and I feel like, okay, now I'm starting to get to what I think of as the Dragon Quest experience. I'm going to play it for about another hour, which is 1 hour longer than I would usually give as I'm kind of testing out a game. But I'm going to see, you know, what it feels like going forward from here. Oh boy. Oh, they look powerful. I think you're right. I think I have made a seriously big mistake. Ow! Oh my gosh! Oh no! Oh man! Okay, I'm in trouble. Ah! Oh, there I go. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So after dying, you have 3 choices. You can reload from your latest save, from the last place visited, and from my last autosave. Ow! Oh my gosh! Oh man, I can't remember which one of these guys I attacked. I want to whittle down one of them, but they don't have health bars. Okay, yeah, that was satisfying. Oh crap! I forgot to heal between battles! Oh my gosh! Ow! Oh! Oh, ow! Oh, interesting. So they don't have health bars, but the color of their name changes to, I think, an increasingly warmer color as they are more wounded. Not quite a full-blown health bar, but still just a little bit of convenience to help you make your decisions about who to attack. There we go. Alright. Let's give this one a try. Burn them! Yeah, baby. Oh, man. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Okay, I've put 6.5 hours into this game right now, and it's arrived at where I wanted it to be at about 1 or 2 hours in. If this were 20 plus years ago, living at home with my parents, buying one game every 6 to 9 months just based on my meager allowance, then this would be something that I would push through those early hours knowing, hey, this is my JRPG for most of this year. I will deal with the problems and shortcomings and stuff like that because there's a lot here that I'll enjoy. If I had just rented this game, which I wasn't able to do in my area, then I would have played maybe about this much and said, oh, cool, so there is a game here that I'm going to enjoy. I'll come back to that sometime when I'm ready to buy it. And then I might have never gotten back to it. I don't know. But I did buy it this time. It was the only way I was going to be able to talk about it really in a timely manner. And so I will come back to it at some point. I'm not sure yet if that'll be tonight, next week, or 3 months from now. I've got a small stack of other games, any one of which I could put in, fire up, and know that I'm going to have a good time with my limited amount of gameplay time. There's a part of me that it's like, it's hard to want to give time to this, knowing that maybe the next village will just start that cycle again of boring conversations and running back and forth. The dungeons are where Dragon Quest is fun for me. The overworld traveling across the land and getting from one town to the other on my meager supplies, trying to survive monster battles with limited magic points left. Of course, even that kind of gameplay disappears a little bit once you get deeper into the game and you have a teleport spell that can take you to any city you've been to before. But anyway, it's the economy of my resources and the combat and the leveling in this game that's interesting to me. And so I am a little bummed that I started out with so much town activity in this game. I really hope that that isn't the beginning of a pattern that's going to continue for the rest of the game, but I don't know. But it's definitely a game that I plan to continue playing, and more than likely I'll finish it out and enjoy it a lot. It's a game that I can pull out and bum around on the couch with my wife, as I said, when she's watching one of her shows, and I just kind of want to be in the room with her. It gives me that chill, light tactical dungeon crawling experience that is nice at the end of a long work day. The music I have adapted to, I guess, and that happened with Dragon Quest Builders. I thought that might be the case here. I still wish that it could have been a live orchestra. I would probably buy a DLC that added live orchestra to this game, but I'm not counting on it, and I'm okay with that. And yet, with all these feelings I have about the beginning of this game, I know I have only scratched the tip of the iceberg. I only have 2 party members, so I'm very interested to see what other kinds of characters get added to my party. I'm sure I will continue to be grateful for the ability to turn voice acting off. But I think I'm going to have a good time with this game. I'm not sure exactly when, but when the time comes that I want some good turn-based JRPG goodness, I think this game is totally going to deliver on that for me. Alright, those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below, and then I hope you join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. November 3rd, Dragon Quest XI and Spider-Man for PS4 are coming out within 3 days of each other. I'm going to try and review both games. I don't have time to make a brand new Extra Life recruitment bumper. November 3rd. Once again this year, Christian Geek Central is participating in Extra Life. This is a charity that raises funds for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, which provides free medical care to children whose families could otherwise not afford it. And this is very often for critical, life-saving treatment. Joining our team only requires a willingness to ask your family and friends to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Participants also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising efforts, like a special game night at your home or your church, or like me, you could do a crazy 24-hour video gaming marathon. Now, I'm theming it around video games, but really this event can be themed around any kind of gaming, which includes both video games and tabletop games of any kind. What you do to raise funds is entirely up to you, but I would love for you to consider joining the Christian Geek Central Extra Life team. As team leader, I'll be there to help answer your questions, provide some helpful tips if I can, and just in general be your fundraising cheerleader and try to draw attention myself to your fundraising efforts. You can get more information about the event as a whole at extra-life.org, and if you choose to sign up there, be sure to select Christian Geek Central as your team so I can get in touch with you and then just help in whatever way I can. Fundraising can begin at any time, but our main push is going to be through the month of October leading up to November 3rd. That's the annual Extra Life Game Day, when I'll be streaming my 24-hour video gaming marathon live and trying to stay awake without throwing up. More details on my live stream as we get closer to it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.